Food is far more than just a biological necessity. It serves as a powerful tool capable of shaping not only physical health, but also the mind and spirit. In some instances, food becomes a means of control, where what we consume, or are forbidden to consume, is used to manipulate our beliefs and behaviors. Cults, often rooted in extreme ideologies, have mastered this concept. Cults exert control not only over the spiritual or psychological beliefs of their members, but also over the most mundane aspects of their lives, such as what they eat, how they eat, and when they eat. In these groups, food transcends its basic purpose and becomes a tool of power. From strict diets to prolonged fasting, food is transformed into a method of manipulation, shaping the minds and bodies of those who submit to it. But how can something as fundamental as food be used to control a person? And what effects does this have on their bodies and minds? This documentary delves into how some of the world's most bizarre and dangerous cults have used food as a mechanism of control. It examines how dietary restrictions can strip members of their sense of autonomy, turning them into instruments of the cult's ideology. Perhaps most strikingly, it explores how diet can extend beyond nutrition to become a form of spiritual submission. A chilling example: the Heaven's Gate cult instructed its members to abandon nearly everything considered worldly, including their diet, as a way to detach from all things earthly before ascending to the heavens. By placing food at the center of power, these cults control not only what their members believe, but also who they are, both physically and spiritually. In many cases, the body becomes the battleground where obedience, purity, and conformity are fought for. Chapter 1: Diet as a form of mind control. In the pursuit of power and control, cults have discovered that food is one of their most effective tools. What often begins as a form of physical discipline quickly evolves into a method of mental control. By enforcing strict diets or prolonged fasting, cults not only dictate what members consume, but also manipulate their minds, weakening their ability to think independently and critically. In this way, food becomes a vehicle for conformity, submission, and identity transformation. Strict diets within cults are not merely intended to purify the body. They are, at their core, a means of breaking down the mental and physical resistance of members, distancing them from their previous lives. By imposing severe dietary restrictions, cults dismantle established thought patterns, fostering a sense of total dependence on the group and its leader. Control over what a person can eat becomes a symbol of absolute authority over their life. By removing access to familiar or comforting foods, cults isolate members from their past identities, forcing them to accept the group's ideology as their sole source of physical and emotional sustenance. While not a cult in the strictest sense, Jehovah's Witnesses have dietary rules that are similarly rigid. For instance, the prohibition against consuming blood extends to foods containing blood, such as certain types of meat and products. This practice reinforces the idea that members must adhere to the group's rules without question, even when those rules conflict with common dietary norms or scientific understanding. Chapter 2: Unusual Dietary Practices in Cults. Food control is not exclusive to the most extreme or isolated cults. It is also a common feature in many spiritual and religious movements, even if not all of them qualify as cults in a strict sense. From dietary practices aimed at physical and spiritual purity to beliefs linking food with sacred rituals, food has been used as a tool to reinforce group beliefs and strengthen collective identity. This chapter explores some of the most unusual diets and their connection to the ideologies of various groups, both sectarian and spiritual. Rastafari movement. While not traditionally considered a cult, Rastafarianism incorporates unique dietary principles centered around ital food, emphasizing natural, unprocessed, and organic foods. This diet aligns with their spiritual belief in connecting with the earth, promoting health, and achieving purification of both body and spirit. The Children of God, the family. This cult intertwined food and sexuality in controversial ways. Dietary rules were linked to sexual rituals and manipulation, fostering submission to the group's ideology and leader, while distorting the relationship between nourishment and personal autonomy. New Age movements. These groups often advocate for fasting and strict vegetarian diets as methods of physical and spiritual cleansing. The practices aim to detoxify the body, elevate consciousness, and establish harmony with divine energies, viewing food as a means to enlightenment. Raelians, founded by Claude Vorillon, this group integrates nutrition, science, and spirituality. The focus is on consuming nutrient-rich superfoods to optimize the body for advanced consciousness and align with the group's teachings on health and cosmic connection. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons. Although not a cult, Mormon dietary rules, outlined in the Word of Wisdom, include avoiding alcohol, caffeine, and tobacco while encouraging a balanced diet. This framework reflects the belief in maintaining the body as a sacred temple and aligns members' lifestyles with church teachings. In all these cases, food serves as more than just sustenance. It becomes a means of shaping identity, ensuring group cohesion, and, in some instances, exerting control over members' lives. Chapter 3. Food Ritualism. In many cults and spiritual movements, food transcends its basic function as a source of nutrition. It becomes a means of attaining a higher spiritual state, a vehicle for purification, or a channel for divine connection. Ritualizing food, whether through sacrifices, fasting, or the consumption of sacred items, plays a crucial role in building collective identity and deepening control over members. This chapter examines how food rituals intertwine with the religious and spiritual beliefs of various groups. In some cults, animal sacrifice is historically central to spiritual rituals, seen as a necessary act to appease deities, purify the soul, or transform sacrificial energy into blessings for the community. Food and sacrifice often merge deeply with beliefs about spiritual purification and transcendence. Certain cults view animal sacrifices as symbolic acts of renouncing the earthly to achieve the divine. The sacrifice's blood is considered a medium for releasing or transforming negative energies, while its consumption is perceived as a direct connection to the spiritual. Though these rituals may shock outsiders, members often regard them as sacred moments, bringing them closer to a transcendent reality. For instance, in some sub-Saharan African cults, ritual sacrifices of horses, goats, or birds are not only religious practices, but are seen as a way to consume the essence of the animal and gain divine power, wisdom, or protection. In many cults, food serves not only as sustenance, but as a sacred tool for achieving higher consciousness. Consuming specific foods is viewed as a direct act of divine connection, often loaded with symbolic meaning that extends beyond the physical. Such rituals become key elements of identity within the cult, and a way to forge deep bonds between members and their worldview. One well-known example is the Christian communion, where bread and wine represent the body and blood of Christ. While this ritual is widely accepted within Christianity, it illustrates how simple acts of eating and drinking can carry profound spiritual significance. In some cults, this practice expands into more complex food rituals, involving sacred foods that promise soul purification and access to divine realms. An example of this can be seen in certain New Age cults, which advocate the consumption of magical food.